Hello everybody, last time we stopped on Claudia Flynn getting arrested in the middle of her deal with Serbs and Ortega. So basically she made this deal in attempt to build her own empire or at least to start her own business after her father died. So let's talk about how basically her chances after she got arrested and what she can still do to prevent an attempt on her life, because now Tommy is looking for that opportunity basically to remove Claudia forever because of she killed his friend Liliana. But for Claudia, basically the nightmare only it's just started and it's just her first basically real trouble, because everything that was before was just, not as close to her getting killed as right now, because she is isolated right now in a prison. And of course Tommy used this opportunity together with Shanti. And as we know, Shanti basically partnered with Claudia, but Shanti turns out to be the smartest one out of all the women that Claudia worked with. She turned out to be that person who actually can stay away from trouble, but at the same time she can be useful for both Tommy and Claudia and even her boyfriend. And so they right now basically cooperating against Claudia, which is so bad for Claudia because she is now alone. Nobody actually wants to work with Claudia. Only feds and feds interested in Claudia's leniency. She basically has the only option to get out of this prison by cooperating with feds, by basically feeding them all the information on Ortega and his cartel, and by basically incriminating Tommy Egan, which is not possible anymore because Tommy is too smart for this shit. And he can recognize immediately if somebody just trying to, incriminate him. But since Claudia has no choice and her release even is not like passable, she has to survive at least in this prison to stay alive. This is the least she can do right now. And in season 3 specifically, a lot of her storyline, of course, in the prison, first part of the season, she spent in the prison, and the whole story with retaliation from Tommy because of Liliana is gonna be a huge part of this season. But how dumb feds are to think that Tommy will go for Claudia once Claudia got released. How dumb they are to think that Tommy is going to risk his whole life, his whole career or whatever to just go and kill her without thinking about the consequences. So I think that your possible release on the conditions to serve Tommy on the silver platter to feds is just ridiculous. And thinking that she can actually outsmart Tommy this time after she failed multiple times is also ridiculous. But Claudia actually told her girlfriend that Tommy basically and Shanti, they were responsible for basically an attempt on Claudia, because they were the people who sent a hitter inside a prison, inside the prison that Claudia locked up right now. And basically the hitter failed to get job done, but that means basically that Claudia, after surviving, she has her chance to fight back. She has her chance to get Tommy and to get Shanti killed, because next time it will be her again, and next time probably she will not survive. So she used this opportunity, and she used Marquez Cartel. She asked Ortega to basically send his people to kill Tommy and Shanti, while basically the situation is still not so desperate. But Tommy easily just fought back everything. He killed all the Marquez Cartel's hitters, shitters, and he just recognized this basically tattoo that this is of course Ortega, and it means that Claudia is involved as well, because everybody knows who works with whom in this TV show. Basically they easily, figured out this situation, and basically now Claudia has so little options, really just using her girlfriend Elise and to make her do job on the outside while she is locked up in this prison. But who Elise is to make this work, because if professional hitters failing hit on Tommy Egan, Elise even more amateur than anybody else in this TV show, to send her to record Tommy, to make Tommy incriminate himself. You need to at least use somebody as experienced as Shanti or anybody, but Shanti is already on Tommy Egan's side. But this is the only person basically Claudia has on the outside, a part of Ortega's cartel. Ortega is locked up himself, but Claudia has only this woman, and she has Cartel who pulled her protection. So basically Cartel is not anymore at Claudia's disposal, because she has no actual protection inside this prison, or she is going to lose that protection, because Ortega is going to pull that protection from Claudia, because any involvement in Tommy Egan's operations, in CBI operations, means that Claudia is betraying Ortega, and they made a deal before that basically cannot be broken. And basically this is exactly the moment when Claudia broke that deal. She made Ortega pull her protection. And this happened when Tommy Egan sent Vic to tell basically Claudia that Tommy is going after her clubs in Viagra Triangle, that Tommy Egan is going to use Claudia's clubs to distribute his products. But Vic is currently working on both Feds and Tommy. He is an informant for Tommy. He feeding information to Feds. At the same time, he gathering information from Tommy and selling it to Feds. But now he is just feeding fake information to Feds because Tommy is going to kill him if he incriminates Tommy. And basically Claudia has her brother as a rival right now, or at least she cannot use him in any way that would be beneficial to Claudia, because whatever she does can be used against her if basically Tommy catch the wind of this, Claudia's involvement in anything. He can usually just use it against her, which is exactly what he is doing, because after Claudia agreed to basically cooperate on Viagra Triangle business and to give access to Tommy Egan and CBI to Viagra Triangle area, and this area including all the clubs which Claudia's girlfriend Alice possesses. She has access due to her mother to all the clubs in Viagra Triangle where they are distributing their products. Not their products, but they are working with Marquez Cartel to distribute that product. So this means if Tommy is involved in this Viagra Triangle deal, Ortega, recognizing this as the betrayal of their deal with Claudia, and she's left without any protection in the prison. So basically, by dealing with Tommy Egan even being locked up in the prison, she's still making it even worse by sending basically Elise, who is basically an amateur, to do this type of work. But she convinced her basically to get this done, because this is the only way she can stay alive in a prison, because if she is giving Tommy Egan and CBI Viagra Triangle, she can still be safe in the prison. She can be at least not killed by Tommy Egan's hitters, because if she is not cooperating on Viagra Triangle deal, Tommy Egan sends another hitter, and this time it could be, fatal for Claudia. So she did what she had to, but she could have used at least somebody more experienced or something like this. But since Elise is partly controlling Viagra Triangle, of course, that was the only choice she had, because Shanti kind of betrayed Claudia herself, but Shanti and Claudia, they were not really that close as Elise and Claudia were, because basically Claudia and Elise, they knew each other like from the border school or something like this. They were together like long ago, and now basically this is the only person she can rely on. But sometimes you need to rely on somebody you know less, but the person who seems to be more suitable for this kind of job, like Shanti was definitely a better choice, but Claudia basically chose somebody who she knows better. And basically Shanti told Elise that Elise is not capable of this type of work to look after all the clubs that they are distributing their product to, and they're using those clubs effectively because of Shanti, not because of Alice, even though Alice basically partly possesses those clubs. She is an investor because her mother basically throwing money into those clubs, but the person who is actually controlling those clubs is not Alice. It's Shanti, because Alice, she doesn't have balls to basically control even her workers, like strippers, like women who distributing product inside this club. She has no even control over her people. And Shanti shows how this works. She is usually just preferring the force instead of words, and she is using what she can do the best, and she is beating the person who basically is stealing money from them because she was overcharging the clients. And Shanti showed how this job getting done to Alice, and Alice just admitted that she is not made for this type of job, but at this point basically she was doing that only to stay closer to Claudia. Her only motivation was to reunite with Claudia and to stay as much as close to Claudia, and this is the only probably motivation. But for Claudia, of course, it was way more complicated because now she is left with no protection in this prison. This means she would use whoever she needs to stay safe in this prison, even though it's Alice, the person who is just considered to be innocent in this situation because she is just an old friend of Claudia's. But at this point, Claudia in a huge trouble after she lost her protection. This is the exact moment when she is losing her protection from Ortega's cartel, and he is pulling her protection because he caught a wind of her working with Tommy Egan. He immediately pulling her protection, and now she is actually vulnerable to anybody, and she is just easy target in this prison. So she used the only way to stay alive in this prison, and she is going to buy her own protection inside this prison. She asked Alice to basically transfer some money apparently to some of your inmates to buy them to protect Claudia. She used basically Alice to help Claudia to buy her own protection inside this prison. And after she did that, the person who was constantly offending and trying to kill Claudia and failed her first attempt on Claudia is currently not aware of that. Her own crew, her own protection was just bought, and they flipped on her immediately after Claudia offered them more money apparently. And basically, now Claudia just turned the tables on this person, and she used her own protection to kill this woman and to finally stop this nightmare inside this prison. So she got this job done, the job that that person wasn't able to get done. But it doesn't mean that she is safe from Tommy Egan, because Tommy can use way more than just this. And currently, the only problem basically for Tommy Egan in this TV show, apparently the alliance between Ortega and Garcia, Miguel Garcia, because basically those two men, they know how to cooperate because they are both Mexican. They know how to stay away from the trouble, but how to get job done, because they are both big figures in this Chicago game, and they want Tommy Egan killed. So they agreed on this deal, and Miguel Garcia agreed that he would serve Tommy Egan to Ortega, because Miguel Garcia cannot kill Tommy himself, because if he does that, his boss, which is the biggest one, Shay, the actual boss of the cartel, he will basically apparently kill Miguel Garcia, because Tommy Egan is the main figure right now. He is the main figure in this Chicago drug industry, and if basically Tommy getting killed as the main distributor right now in Chicago, it will stop all the process, all the flow, all the traffic, and it will basically complicate not only CBI's business, but everyone, including Miguel himself, including Miguel's boss, Shay. And basically this means that Estrada Cartel, which is the biggest one, the biggest distributor, the biggest connect in Chicago, will not allow to get Tommy Egan killed, at least not right now. So this is why they basically agreed to make this deal like this, that Miguel would only serve Tommy to Ortega, but he will not kill Tommy himself. And Tommy cannot kill Miguel because he promised his girlfriend and Miguel's sister Mireya that he will never kill Miguel. But he didn't tell that he wouldn't take Miguel's business down, because this is exactly what he's doing. And at the same time, Claudia, using her last chance to get out of this prison and to retaliate on Tommy Egan, even though Tommy is the one who needs to retaliate because of his friend Liliana, Claudia is still seeking this cooperation with feds, but she only needs this cooperation, apparently, to get out of this prison. As far as I understood, she knows she has no chance against Tommy Egan on the outside, because Tommy has everything put together. and he is not that fool to go for her and to incriminate herself and to get caught in the middle of the attempt. This means basically that Claudia is using feds to get out of the prison. And her initial basically motive is not helping feds to kill Tommy or to get him caught, because Tommy is the biggest prize for feds, but he needs to be alive to be valuable for feds. And Claudia basically knew that she has Alice who can possibly record Tommy Egan and make him incriminate himself, to make him talk about his business, drugs, everything, and to record some information that she can use against him, that she can give the feds. And that was so poorly executed, because basically the person who is so smart is not gonna be incriminated like this. You cannot just send somebody like Alice, who really just started this conversation with a line when she asking Tommy about some of their product, and she's just straightforwardly starting this conversation with something that Tommy would immediately recognize as suspicious, because nobody in this business talking like this and nobody discussing things in a way that she started to. She started to ask Tommy questions that usually no other people asking him, because they're using codes, they're using other words to talk about the business, but the way she was talking, it was immediately recognized by Tommy Egan as she's just recording him. Of course, she basically found this phone on the record, basically. He immediately removed this phone and he basically sent a message to Claudia that she cannot basically outsmart him by sending this woman Elise. But I think that Claudia knew that Elise would fail. It's not like she underestimated Tommy Egan, because she knows how smart he is, but she was trying to just keep doing something. By using Elise, she was trying to get this, another chance to incriminate Tommy Egan, but she already knew that it would potentially flop again, because Ellis is just not that person who can get this job done. At this point, basically, he was even just remorseful about her putting at risk Elise by sending her to record Tommy Egan, and by showing how she is sorry about putting in danger her only ally she has left. She made sure that Elise is still on her side, that she's not switching sides, and that was kind of manipulation, telling how much they are in love, how much she is just sorry about the situation that she put Alice into, and another acting from Claudia, just easily convincing Alice that they are still in love, and Claudia doesn't just use Alice. And basically Claudia asked her last chance to get retaliation on Tommy Egan. She played her last card. She used feds again. She asked feds that she could potentially get released and bait Tommy on the outside to make him come for her and try to kill her. This way they can charge him on attempt of murder, because they do not have anything on his business, no real evidence that could get him imprisoned. But they can use this as a bait. They can use Claudia to make Tommy basically come for her and to get him on that attempt. But Tommy is not that stupid to go and openly threaten somebody. He can threaten anybody, but he will not do this job himself. He will not basically incriminate himself. He can retaliate on Claudia. He can kill her, but he can do that indirectly. He can do that by using his people. He can do that in remote place nobody would get access to. He can do that behind Fed's back. He can basically outsmart easily anything that Claudia is going to do, that she is going to pull. So basically Claudia is now in a situation when she is finally released, but she is released on the condition that she needs to testify against Ortega. And this means if she testifies against Ortega and she will get killed by Ortega's cartel, because if she testifies against him, he will immediately basically put a hit on Claudia. But if she gets any protection from feds, she can stay alive sometime, but there is still Tommy who can just get this job done even better than any cartel, because Tommy is more calculated than anybody. And Claudia, she created two big enemies for herself. On one hand, Tommy Egan, on the other hand, Ortega. If Ortega getting charged on drug trafficking because of Claudia's testimony, this means Claudia is forever a primary target for Ortega's cartel, for Marquez cartel, and she will not last long. But if she manages to get both Tommy and Ortega, if she gives everything on Ortega, and if she manages to get Tommy incriminate himself and if she is baiting Tommy and making him come for her, and feds getting Tommy cuffed and putting him in the prison, or at least pressing charges on Tommy, this means Claudia has better chances to finally start a new life, or at least to stay alive and to get out of this forever. So for Claudia, it's still pretty, I would say, it's still so like unlikely to get away with everything she did, but she still has a little hope, and she is apparently going to be either killed or she is gonna be winning. But since Tommy is the main protagonist, we all know he is not going to be imprisoned like this. He is not going to be killed. He is not going to be out of this TV show anytime soon, because this is his TV show, and this means basically that the first in line person to get out of this TV show is Claudia, not him. But they both are interesting characters. They both are like important parts of this story. So I don't see any reason to remove neither of them, but I see how this situation can easily just getting in completely another direction, like going completely in a way that nobody expected. Something is gonna be completely different from people thought it could be. I don't think that it's gonna be just as simple as it seems, as people think that it's just retaliation and that's all. Because this whole just project proved that you don't basically know what to expect from characters like this, and this is why this TV show is so interesting. So thank you for watching, and I will make another short video about this TV show, and it's gonna be pretty interesting, I guess, because the TV show itself just perfectly written, and I hope that my video will be as interesting as this TV show is. So see you next time. Goodbye.